Hi guys, welcome to my second vlog on skills and capacities in speed and agility. I'll be looking at acceleration on a 5-10-5 change of direction drill. Throughout the video I will analyse each movement to determine whether skills or capacity issues are present and provide appropriate coaching cues and corrective exercises if needed. Here we have Jason about to accelerate over 20 metres. We're going to pay particular attention to the athlete's backside mechanics at this stage. If we focus on Jason's leading leg, we can see that as he accelerates from the start line, that he achieves a reasonably good extension in the ankle and knee. However, there does appear to be a force break in the hip. Ideally at this stage we would prefer to see the athlete body position somewhere between 45 and a 60-degree angle before the athlete becomes more upright as they approach maximum velocity.
I believe Jason has a number of skill-related issues associated with his front-side mechanics during the acceleration phase. Jason does appear to have poor hip flexion, which consequently could have a negative impact on his ability to efficiently express force. Ideally, we would prefer to see a higher knee drive, as this will improve mechanical positioning for greater hip extension force to be applied during the stance phase. If we hit play, we can see that the knee drive is actually quite poor over the initial 4 to 5 steps.
Jason also displays a poor arm drive. Ideally we would prefer to see the hands come up to face level. His heel recovery is also quite poor. During the swing phase, the heel should recover from a lower to higher position.
Quicker acceleration is typically associated with a greater touchdown distance. Touchdown distance is the distance between the athlete's centre of mass and toe touchdown in the stance leg. Jason's inability at this stage to adopt optimal front and backside mechanics is resulting in a smaller touchdown distance, as we can see here. A smaller touchdown distance is typically associated with a larger touchdown velocities and therefore larger braking forces.
Acceleration drills will allow Jason to practice pointing back his feet behind his centre of mass, which will reinforce good motor recruitment patterns and in doing so will help to reduce touchdown velocity. It's worth mentioning at this stage, following our qualitative kinematic assessment of the athlete, that during the acceleration phase much of the skill related conclusions have been based upon the athlete's body positioning. So has the athlete been able to achieve optimal positions which will allow them to efficiently express force related capacities? Jason's body positioning throughout the assessment doesn't best reflect the technical model at this stage, but we now need to find out why this is, and we need to decide whether capacity related issues are having an effect on Jason's ability to achieve optimal positioning throughout the acceleration phase. To assess for capacity related issues, we conducted a thorough needs analysis, which included range of motion screening, capacity and strength related diagnostic testing. Initially, Jason presented excessive forward lean at the start of the acceleration phase, which I felt was a forced movement. After speaking with Jason, this proved to be the case. To be sure that this was a skill related issue, not a capacity issue, we conducted a prone back extension and a supine double leg hold test. Jason scored excellent in both tests. Therefore, I was happy to conclude that the forward lean was more of a skill related issue than a capacity issue. After watching the video feedback, I felt that Jason may have a movement capacity issue, possibly restricting a high knee drive and indirectly a low to high heel recovery. So we investigated range of motion around the hip and knee. Jason demonstrated good glute flexibility, however his hamstrings were very tight, failing to achieve 90 degrees. Jason also scored excellent in the double leg raise test, so that on top of his 145 kilogram back squat helped me to conclude that the lack of knee drive most likely was due to tight hip extensors and not so much strength related. Jason is a classic example of an athlete who has an abundance of strength available, but due to his lack of skill is unable to access strength optimally when accelerating. Therefore, I would be more inclined to say that the majority of his improvements will come from more exposure to skill related acceleration drills while addressing the athlete's mobility and flexibility in and around the hip extensors. Because Jason comes from a powerlifting background, we are systematically working towards more explosive exercises in the gym, utilising training modalities such as traditional strength training exercises with lighter loads, as well as appropriate plyometrics and weightlifting exercises. Here's a clip of Jason performing an acceleration drill leading into a 30-metre sprint. This is only his third track session, and already we can see improvements in his front and backside mechanics.
Here we have Scott performing a variation of the 5-10-5 change of direction drill. This variation of the 5-10-5 drill will focus only on a 180-degree change of direction on both the right and left leg. Notice how Scott, when approaching the second turn, takes additional baby steps prior to the plant phase of the change of direction. This could be seen as a skill-related issue. Ideally, we would expect to see a gradual deceleration associated with the penultimate steps prior to a steeper angled planting of the right leg before accelerating back towards the centre cone. We believe this was only a minor deceleration skill issue, which only occurred when entering into the change of direction at a higher velocity. Notice this problem did not occur during the first acceleration over 5 meters. A simple task constraint was used whereby the athlete was asked to enter into the higher velocity turn at a slightly slower speed.
I believe Scott has a number of movement and strength capacity issues associated with the lower limbs. These issues are likely stopping Scott achieving a high knee drive when accelerating. Following a thorough needs analysis, Scott displayed poor glute and hamstring flexibility and therefore mobility at the hip. Additionally, a double leg hold capacity test was used to assess the strength and integrity of the hip flexors. Scott scored poor on this test, which highlights that he needs to do more conditioning work for the hip flexors. Tight hip extensors and lack of sufficient strength in the hip flexors may explain why Scott does not achieve a high knee drive when accelerating prior to or after the change of direction. Therefore, Scott should aim to improve his physical capacities such as movement at the hip and general strength. To be successful at changing direction, the athlete must be able to tolerate excessive braking forces before exiting out of the turn. It is worth mentioning at this stage that the angle of entry will influence the amount of time that the athlete has available to apply sufficient ground reaction force. A 180-degree turn will result in a greater impulse compared to a 45-degree change of direction. Additionally, higher velocity entries into the change of direction will require greater eccentric braking forces and integrity at the ankles, knees and hip joints. To assess for high load eccentric control at the hip and knee, we conducted a hop and stick test. The results showed that Scott was a little more knee dominant in the left leg compared to the right leg. Therefore, to ensure Scott is able to better tolerate greater braking forces when changing direction, deceleration drills and exercises focused on hip stability and eccentric training were included in the athlete's training program. When exiting the change of direction, physical capacities such as reaction strength, as well as fast and slow stretch shortening cycle plyometric training will play an important role towards improving the athlete's change of direction. Therefore, to test both contractile and elastic properties of the muscles in the lower extremities, we conducted two sergeant jump tests, with one focusing on a counter movement jump and the other on a squat jump, which involved a 5-second pause in the bottom position before the jump. There was only a 3.7% difference between the squat jump test and the counter movement jump test. This indicates that contractile properties of the muscle tissue in the lower extremities is relatively good. However, the elastic properties would need to be improved via appropriate plyometric training. It is worth mentioning again that due to the longer ground reaction times associated with a 180-degree change of direction, the body may be more reliant on better contractile properties compared to the elastic properties of the muscle tissue in the lower extremities. However, we would like to see an improvement in the elastic properties. To summarise skills versus capacities, it is important to understand the difference between both qualities, whereby skills are typically associated with the athlete's ability to move efficiently and in a coordinated timely manner. Capacities, on the other hand, relate more so to the athlete's ability to express a given physical quality. But the difference between skills and capacities is not always clear cut, and at any one time both usually interlink with each other. Jason, for example, struggled to achieve an optimal knee drive during the swing phase when accelerating, which could be seen as a skill issue. However, with further investigation, we understood that Jason had tight hip extensors, which made it more challenging for him to achieve a high knee drive. Therefore, by treating the capacity issue, the skill issue would likely improve, particularly with the inclusions of appropriate acceleration drills and gym-based programming. Lastly, when changing direction, it is difficult to prescribe a specific technical model given the changing dynamics of the movement, particularly during open drills. Because of this issue, different physical qualities will be required to optimize change of direction.